Hi there. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Self-Care Matters, a mental health series. I'm Veronica Quinones, owner and founder of North Star Senior Advisors and North Star Cares. We provide a free service for seniors to help navigate them through their search to locate senior living options, as well as care management services with our amazing care management team. Today, I have April Boykin of Counseling Resource Services, and she's going to talk to us about PHQ-9, which helps screens for symptoms of depression. We've all experienced some form of depression, and I find this topic to be very important, especially for seniors and their loved ones. April, thank you so much for being here and being a part of our monthly series. Before we begin, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and Counseling Resource Services?
So I'm April Boykin. I am one of the owners of Counseling Resource Services. We are an in-home and currently telehealth company that provides mental health, emotional support, and access to resources for our aged and disabled population, primarily focused on the Medicare aged population. This is a service that Medicare reimburses for, even when it's provided in home. And so what we do is we help people deal with anything from depression and anxiety and grief and loss, all the way to chronic mental illness, and really everything in between. We help people with finding what they're eligible for, or dealing with relationship issues, dealing with trauma, really any issue that someone may be having difficulty with or causing them distress is something that we're able to help them with.
It's such an amazing service. So thank you for doing that for our seniors and their families. So tell us a little bit about today's topic and the form and the depression screening.
So, I'm so pleased to say that as a society, we're becoming more and more aware of the impact that depression has on healing. And if you're depressed, you have a more difficult time healing with any medical issue or really functioning from day to day. And so depression is a physiological, an emotional, a psychological depression of your level of functioning. So it manifests in many, many different ways for people, from changes in sleeping habits, sleeping too much, sleeping too little, to changes in your interest or engagement with family and friends, or a change in, for many people, it's irritability. And so people won't think they're depressed, they'll think they're grouchy, when really it's a sign of depression. And so what our primary care physicians have started to do is use a tool, and actually all of our physicians, called the PHQ-9, which is the Patient Health Questionnaire. And it has a group of questions that asks for the presence of symptoms in your life. And it's important to know that these symptoms oftentimes are overlooked as a part of another disease that you have. So it's important to know that 80% of people who have certain health conditions, and I'll go through those in just a second, are more likely to have depression. And when you have, it's called comorbid, and when you have depression with these health conditions, right, if you don't deal with the depression, you slow or impede your ability to heal or manage these conditions. So if you have heart disease, you have a stroke, if you have diabetes, if you have lung conditions, if you have chronic pain, if you have autoimmune disorders, arthritis, or chronic fatigue, if you have, even after birth, so all of those conditions and so many more have a greater likelihood of resulting with depression. And if you don't deal with the depression, you don't get better as quickly. So I'm going to run through what the questions are on the screener. And a lot of people will look at the screener and they'll say, well, this doesn't really apply to me. Or they will feel it, but they won't tell their doctor. And so I also want to say it's so important to have this conversation, because 1 in 4 people are diagnosed with depression or anxiety. 25% of our entire society is diagnosed with it. It is more than double that actually experience it and go without treatment or care. And a lot of people will believe that they can't get better. Oh, well, this is just a sign of aging, or this is just a part of having heart disease. And it's not. It can be fixed, it can be helped, it can be improved. So I'm going to run through the questions. The first one that they ask is, have you been bothered by any of the following problems within the last 2 weeks? And so it's little interest or pleasure in doing things that you have historically enjoyed. Okay. Also have you felt down or depressed or hopeless or sad or depressed depressed energy, found that your energy is down? Okay. Have you had trouble falling asleep? Have you had trouble staying asleep? Are you getting too much sleep? Or are you not being able to sleep at all? Mm-hmm. Are you feeling tired and fatigued and having low energy? Have you had a change in your appetite? Are you eating everything in sight and always hungry? Or are you not wanting to eat anything at all? Have you been feeling bad about yourself? Are you having negative thoughts about yourself? Are you thinking that you're not good enough, or that nobody wants to be around you, or that you've had failures, or that your friends don't like you, or your family doesn't care? Anytime you get those thoughts, those ruminating thoughts, it's a real good indication that you're having the onset of depression. Another is difficulty concentrating on things that you normally can concentrate on, reading the newspaper, watching a TV show, driving somewhere and realizing that you forget where you're driving, not being able to finish a show or finish a chapter or finish a conversation, getting distracted while you're talking to somebody. Another is moving or speaking slowly, particularly with our elderly populations. You'll begin to see a slowing or a decline in their actual physical activity level. So, they're not getting up. If you ask them to get up and come to participate in something, it takes them longer, right? Or even for ourselves, if we find we're going on a walk, but we only want to go a little bit of the way and we're just not interested. The opposite side of that, and also a sign, is being very fidgety and touching everything, or not being able to sit still, or not being able to be content. And then it's also the thoughts about hurting yourself, and so some people think active thoughts of, I'm going to harm myself, or I don't want to be here, and I've got those, pills. And then other people just think the world would be better off without me, or I would be better off if I wasn't here. And so those are passive suicidal ideation, right? And so either of those are indications that you have the onset of depression. And so when you look at the time frame, sometimes, the questionnaire always asks about 2 weeks, but it's really a greater time than that, because some of us cycle through, right? We'll feel good for a couple of weeks, and then the hip pain comes back and it feels like the end of the world, or, we've got another round of chemo, and after chemo, your energy dips and your wellness dips and your thoughts change and you begin to have negative cognitions. And so it really is your overall perspective within the last 30 days, within the last 6 months. And it's so important to talk about if you're experiencing any of these symptoms.
That makes a lot of sense. And if someone were to feel some of these symptoms but feel ashamed to express it to their doctor, or maybe they're ready to speak to their doctor, what do you recommend that they say to their physician without feeling that embarrassment?
So, we avoid the word mental illness. We avoid trying to say that someone has a mental illness. And what I encourage people to do is, when you talk to your doctor, you simply tell them, I've not been feeling so great. I'd like to talk to someone. Right? Now, if you're having suicidal ideation, you want to tell the doctor, I'm having thoughts about hurting myself. One of the things that they have found is that 75% of the people who are seniors who commit suicide have visited their doctor in the last 30 days and haven't actually gotten help. And so as providers, as mental health professionals, as medical providers, it's really important that we have this conversation all the time. Are you feeling blue? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling down? Are you struggling with anything? Is anything causing you stress? And really simply just saying, I think I need somebody to talk to. And, Medicare pays for this service. So it is a service that you can access. No stigma related to it. After you start the service, you can see your counselor for a couple of times, or you can see them for as long as you need to. You really drive that boat. But just finding someone to talk to is the most important piece.
Absolutely.
Especially when we're dealing with COVID, right? Because COVID has unnaturally made many of us do the things that are on that checklist for screening for depression. For example, not being able to be active. So, as you stay inactive, as you shut in, you also begin to shut down. And so it's important to recognize that we may be experiencing that physiologically or biologically without having a stressor or a condition that's causing it.
What do you recommend? Some people are opposed to medications, although I like to explain to people it's kind of like when you have back pain or muscle spasms, you would take medication to relieve those pains. And it's kind of like that with your brain. Your brain's a muscle and it's tense and you need the medication. But what if someone is opposed to some type of pill form or antidepressant? What do you recommend for those individuals who are experiencing depression and they don't want to be on some sort of medication?
That is a really great question. And so it kind of goes both ways. Some people want a pill to fix everything. And so they'll take the pill and they won't do the counseling work. They won't talk to a counselor. And so then you go off the pill and the issue still exists.
Right.
And so some people will not want the medication and just want the counseling. If you are prescribed an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety, it's really important that you still work with a counselor to get the coping skills that you need. If you are recommended, or if you consider yourself depressed or you want to talk to someone, we don't necessarily recommend medication. We have a lot of skills and strategies that we can teach you and help you with that can improve your release of serotonin in the brain, to improve your mood, to improve how you feel without touching medication. But we will also work with you and decide if, for some people, brain chemistry changes and you just need a little boost. We wouldn't ever force anyone, but we would encourage you. You've done, these 3 things to improve your mood and it's not working now. So why don't we talk to your primary care physician about a low dose of an antidepressant or something else? But we would work with you. It's not a condition of being in treatment. And it's always an open option if you do or don't take a medication.
Yeah, and I remember, because I had shared with you in the past that I suffer from anxiety, and you helped me with some breathing techniques and magnesium, and that has changed my life tremendously because nothing helped me sleep. And it was just, I was low on magnesium, and you said get magnesium, and I immediately went on to Amazon when I left where we were in the parking lot, ordered magnesium. Thank you, Amazon Prime, because by the time I got home that evening, it had arrived. And I am on magnesium daily and I sleep like a baby. So there are those.
Yeah. Supplements, doctors can help you with supplements, and you can look at, there are great sleep protocols. And I will tell you that sleep fixes so many ills in this world. Getting a good night's sleep can make such a difference in your ability to cope with whatever stressors come your way every day.
Absolutely. Just those little techniques that you shared with me have helped me tremendously. So I appreciate that. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience about depression and other signs and symptoms to look for?
I think what you said, everyone has depression, and you get to decide, do you suffer alone, or do you have somebody who can talk with you and walk with you through the process? Doesn't have to stick around. You can do something about it.
It's important. Definitely. It's definitely important. A lot of seniors are home alone. Maybe they're widowed. They lost all their friends. Family moved away. So if you happen to know of a senior neighbor or a friend, check on them. they just want to talk to you. Truly, just check on them and give them some conversation and make sure that, because they do go through their own depression. So I want to thank you again for joining us for our monthly series and your wealth of knowledge, April. It's always great to work with you and to see and speak with you as well. Do you want to share with the audience how they can reach you?
Well, you can call our office at any time, 407-654-4433. And you can ask questions, or you can create a referral for yourself or someone else, or you can also fax us. But go to our website, counselingresourceservices.com, and it'll give you all the information you need.
And we'll post that information on this video as well. And we're with North Star Senior Advisors. I highly recommend that you visit our website as well, northstarsa.com, and you can contact us at 407-796-1582 with any questions or resources that you may have for yourself or a senior loved one. Thank you all so much again for tuning in. April, thank you again. We look forward to speaking next month.
See you next month.